Alright, so I still remember receiving my acceptance letter from the University of St. Thomas. I was standing in my kitchen, holding up my I'm in shirt, posing for my mom while she was taking a picture to post to Facebook. So after that initial excitement, we started looking through the other forms that came with the enrollment, and we found my merit-based scholarship. Now, this is the scholarship that most freshmen receive based on their academic achievement, whether that's their ACT score, their community or school involvement, their GPA, and the rigor of their classes. So since I'm the one paying for majority of my college, the scholarship took a huge load off my shoulders, especially because my family doesn't qualify for financial need. Now, all of us here are primarily in the same boat, that some way, somehow, we have to pay for college. So I think that's why when it comes to paying for college, we all know that every little bit counts. So when I got this year's first bill statement, I noticed that because of inflation and other fees, the cost of tuition rose. But I was a little surprised and disappointed to see that my merit-based scholarship didn't adjust accordingly. So I talked to the Assistant Director of Financial Aid, Jeff Schmidt, and he explained to me that when freshmen got this scholarship, it came in a lump sum. Then it was applied evenly over the 4 years, and it didn't just adjust based on inflation. So that's where I saw my problem. Each year, there's an increase in cost of tuition and fees, and this eventually leads to an increase in student debt. However, this merit-based scholarship that all of us worked hard to earn in high school and maintain the first few years of college doesn't adjust at all. And with increasingly limited alternative scholarship opportunities, students are struggling to stay caught up. And this is why the University of St. Thomas should adjust their merit-based scholarships according to the inflated cost of tuition, or at the very least, they should give students the opportunity to meet certain requirements to readjust their scholarship. So a roadmap of what I'm going to be talking about here is firstly the numbers. We're going to look at tuition and fees cost, the average student debt, and then I'm going to break down the tuition just to see how much we really are paying for college. Next, I'm going to talk about the scholarships and why they're out of reach for a lot of UST students. And thirdly, I'm going to talk about why this merit-based scholarship increase is the solution and what the policy for implementation could be. So here are these numbers. Go ahead. Yep. So as you can see, I got all these numbers from the Institute for College Access and Success and the University of St. Thomas itself. So as we look at all these numbers, you can see that the tuition and fees increased just shy of $4,300 in the past 4 years. And the average student debt has increased just over $3,100. And this is a conservative estimate considering we don't have information for 2017 yet. Now to break this down a little bit further, when we look at the cost per class, you see that it's risen just shy of $550, and that means the cost per individual credit over the past 4 years has increased $136. Now, like I mentioned before, $136 over 4 years might not seem like much, but when it comes to paying for college, every little bit counts. Now, I gave all these numbers because they're a little bit overwhelming, but honestly, paying for college and the cost of college, when you look at all of this and the increase, when we don't get compensated for our merit-based scholarship, is also extremely overwhelming. So moving on to scholarships. One may argue that scholarships are available to everyone, which sure they are, but a lot of scholarships have very specific requirements, and many outside scholarships require financial need. However, in the 2015-16 school year, only 16% of UST students qualify for federal grants. This means that the vast majority of us won't qualify for many internal or external scholarships. Not to mention that other scholarships also require certain qualifications like race, gender, club or program affiliation, experience, interest, and very commonly, major. So for an example of this, I looked at the COJO scholarship page, and I found that only 25 COJO students won scholarships for the 2017 through 18 school year. Now this surprised me because we have a lot more than 25 COJO students in the program. So based on everyone who was even eligible for these, only 25 students won. Now maybe this is because you didn't know about them, or you just didn't apply to them, or maybe you did apply but you didn't win them. Nonetheless, these scholarships, it's a little concerning, and it makes it known that it's not available to everyone because it does require specific things. Sorry. next think that's why the merit-based scholarship is such a good thing, because 97% of incoming freshman students receive academic scholarship or award. That means that 97% of this campus qualifies for merit-based scholarship as long as they can maintain it by maintaining their GPA. So what's our solution and why is it practical? Well, St. Thomas is a nonprofit university, so it's understood that costs increase every year and they inflate their different fees, but St. Thomas adjusts the price with them. So I don't think since we're not going for profit, it should be easy to adjust our scholarships accordingly. Next, the merit-based scholarships are available to everyone, and they don't require anything besides high school academics and maintaining academics here at St. Thomas. So how do we as students qualify for this academic scholarship readjustment? The same way our scholarships were obtained in the first place, through our academic achievement. So as long as a student maintains a certain GPA, stays in good standing here, and supports the mission of All for the Common Good by attending at least one volunteering event each semester, we should be compensated for the inflated costs of tuition and other fees. This scholarship adjustment is not only fair, but will also motivate students to earn this opportunity for compensation. Because whether or not you receive government aid and whether you pay for all of your college or none of your college, we all know that every little bit counts. Thank you.
Yeah, so you mentioned that only 25 Hojo scholarships are available. Would part of your proposal include more of those types of scholarships, or is it just about like maintaining?
I'm glad you asked that because I didn't really have a place to bring it up, but I wanted to maybe discuss that it's difficult to create scholarships because in order to create one you have to create a whole new fund, and it's kind of asking people for money and don't want to do that. Whereas these merit-based scholarships, I believe it's fair to the students that we get an increase when the inflation goes up as well. So I don't think there's a necessity to create more other scholarships just to like compensate us accordingly for our merit-based scholarships.
Do you think that the merit-based scholarship should also take into consideration the financial well-being of like families instead of just like academic achievements?
I don't, because there are a lot of federal grants and a lot of federal things. Like I mentioned earlier, only 60% of us actually do receive federal grants, and that's fine because this merit-based scholarship will also help those students who do qualify for financial need, and that's why I think the beauty of the merit-based scholarship is you don't need to have financial need, and it's available for everyone regardless of your financial situation.
Again, sorry. What are your thoughts on adjusting the merit-based scholarship so instead of it just consistently rising every year, maybe based on like academic performance, so it could go down if you do poorly with your GPA or go up if you...
Yeah, I think, I mean, I talked about the specific requirements of like you need to maintain a certain GPA. I know it's different for people based on the amount of scholarship that you get. It would be, you just have to, it's kind of like a carryover from high school and you just have to keep maintaining it that year. So if, say you do go down in GPA or you don't fulfill the requirements, here it would be taken away from you, and I think it could still be implemented like that. You just have to be willing to take the risk. And I think that's what I kind of touched on in the end is it'll motivate students to do well in school, to be able to keep this compensation and help pay for college. Thank you.